I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Emily.
And this is
A Trial by Podcast.
So I didn't tell Emily yet.
Uh-oh.
But we got a two-pot potty today.
Woo!
Two-pot potty.
A two-pot potty.
Possibly a three-pot potty. But...
Whoa.
Because it's a long one.
Is that why you gave me a seltzer?
Yeah. Emily walked in. I was like, Teeny, would you like a drink? It's like not even 2 p.m. yet. No, but if it's a three-part party, we won't. So for you guys listening, you probably don't know. When we do two-parters, we record them in one day. I haven't said that yet because I feel like people are going to be like, well, if you record them in one day, why don't you release them at once? Because they take...
It'd be 2 hours long.
Yes. First of all, it'd be 2 hours long, which I think we have one episode out now that is 2 hours long. Or not out now, but... As of this recording, I'm debating on if I split it into two. But it'd be 2 hours long or more. Plus, like, if it's 2 hours long, it takes me twice as long to write as an hour episode. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So even though we can sit there and record it in 2 hours, it's 2 weeks worth of work for me. And, same thing on the editing side of it. So one day... when I'm doing this full time, I would love to just release multi-part episodes all at once, but for now, can't do it.
Don't worry, it only ended up being 2 parts. But, trigger warning, while all episodes of A Trial by Podcast explore violent themes, this episode centers around the murder of a child and will include graphic descriptions that may be disturbing to some listeners.
But let's get into it.
And here we go.
Here we go. So, today we are talking about the murder of Adam Walsh.
Oh.
Does that name ring a bell?
Never heard of him.
Okay. So Adam Walsh was the son of John Walsh. Does that name ring a bell? He is the host of America's Most Wanted.
No. Oh.
Okay, so John Walsh, and I'll go over in detail, obviously, later in the episode, but just to give everyone an overview, if you don't know who John Walsh is. So John Walsh is the host and kind of the creator of America's Most Wanted. So like when they do the top 10 lists, they've done some like different reboots, but it was on for a very long time on television. And really how it started was John Walsh's son, Adam, was kidnapped and murdered. And so the Walshes got really involved in legislation for the families of, missing and murdered children. He helped start some foundations. I don't want to get too much into it yet. We'll get into the details later. But he has really made significant changes to the law, to the media, how these are reported upon, and helped a lot of families find closure. So it's a really interesting story.
Doing good work.
Now, I guess I'll give you a spoiler here. It's believed, it's pretty certain that Adam Walsh was actually the victim of a serial killer named Otis Toole. And every time I've heard episodes or like watched anything on TV about the murder of Adam Walsh, it's pretty much Adam was kidnapped. This is where he was found and when, and this is who, we now believe did it. And it's very like cut and dry, straightforward, whatever. And then they go a lot into John Walsh and, what he did after and really how he's changed, which I think is important. We're definitely going to talk a lot about that. But I feel like after I researched this case, there's so much in between investigation that no one ever talks about because they know who did it. So it's like they cut to the chase, which is good, depending on what your goal is. But I find the investigation part of it, and they thought maybe it was this person, but this is why it wasn't. And then maybe it was this other person, and this is why it wasn't, and whatever. I always find that really interesting. So if you are like, I've heard this case 100 times, I genuinely think that you are going to learn something new from these episodes. So
keep listening.
Stick around.
Stay tuned.
So before we get into the story, if you love the pod, give us a quick little 5-star rating wherever you're listening. As of today, so by the time you're hearing this, it's going to be about 2 months after we recorded this, probably. So I'm behind the times. But just so you know, as of today, we are on, and I didn't even tell Emily yet, we are on not just Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio,
Woo!
pretty much any podcasts, any of the 10 most popular podcast streaming platforms, you can listen to us now. So if you want to send this to your mommy who doesn't use technology and never uses Spotify, but she has Amazon Alexa, you can send it to her now because she can listen right there.
We have a total of 21 5-star ratings on Spotify.
Woo woo!
That's a lot.
That is a lot. I'm very happy with that. So thank you to everyone who rates the show. That helps us a lot. And I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but there's also a new comment feature on Spotify. Sorry for everyone who's not Spotify, but
What are you doing if you're not? Come on.
Yeah,
Sorry
I
for
love.
that.
I love.
Sorry to hate
Spotify.
on non-Spotify users, but like Spotify is the elite. Even
It
though
really is.
they upped my bill like $1 without telling me, so
I
I'm
am.
gonna have to call some customer service. And
Yeah, mine because I have a family plan because I got it for my mom for Christmas a few years ago. It's the gift that keeps on giving to her and taking from my bank account. But it was like $3, raised $3 more a month. So it's like $20 a month now. But whatever, I'll take it.
blasphemy.
All right, so let's get into it.
Yeet.
So, on a hot summer day, July 27th, 1981, Reve Drew and her 6-year-old son, Adam Walsh, ventured to the Hollywood Mall in Hollywood, Florida. Their journey began through the north entrance of the Sears store, driven by Reve's interest in a lamp sale that she had spotted in a Sears catalog earlier that morning. However, Adam, with the curiosity that a kid tends to have, was much more interested in the video game section than going to check out the lamps with his mom. So he had seen that there was a new Atari 2600 game called Asteroids that was on display. So he walked over wearing his green shorts, his yellow flip-flops, and a captain's hat on his head, which is just adorable. Smiled with his gappy little smile. He was missing a few teeth and asked his mom, like, hey, I want to go check out the video games. I want to see the new Atari game. And Reve agrees. She says that he can stay and take turns playing with the other boys in the video game section. Even though they were a little bit older than Adam, I think it kind of maybe made her feel a little bit better. Like, okay, there are big kids here. So Reve lets him stay and she heads down to the lamp department nearby, hopeful to find the exact lamps that she saw in the catalog so she can get the sale price.
Love good lamp sale.
Now, before she leaves Adam alone, she promises that afterwards she's going to take him for ice cream if he's patient. So she goes over the lamp section, but unexpectedly, the lamps were nowhere to be found. And Reve inquires with a store employee, I saw these lamps in the catalog. What's up? Where are they? And they didn't really have much of an answer for her. But this kind of like made her whole, not outing, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Errand.
Her whole,
Venture?
Her whole venture a little bit longer than she had expected. Like maybe she wouldn't have left Adam alone for that long, but she thought it was going to be real quick. I'm going to walk, go grab the lamps, and I'll be right back. Now, when she does return, Adam and all of the other boys who were playing were gone. A tinge of fear set in, but she tried not to panic. She began searching the store, calling Adam's name through the aisles. She had a little bit of a glimmer of hope when she saw a boy walking around with a captain's hat. But as she got closer to him, she quickly realized that it was not Adam when she saw the boy's dark hair. Still, she approaches the boy thinking that maybe this kid was playing with them. Maybe he would remember Adam because they're both wearing a captain's hat. So she goes up to the little boy and she says, "Have you seen another little boy wearing a hat like yours?" And the boy nodded yes. She then asked him where he had seen Adam, and the boy pointed towards an entrance on the far side of the store, like far away from the toy department. Now, Reve thought this was odd because she thought Adam was very unlikely to go out of this exit because they always entered the mall through the entrance closest to the toy department. Every time they went there, they always went through Sears, always the same like set of doors and everything. So she thought it was weird. Now, her search for Adam became a little bit more desperate at this point as she started to enlist the help of store employees. She starts asking around. She's speaking to the security guard. Has anyone seen my son? What is going on? And the security guard tells her that the group of boys who had been playing video games in the store had gotten out of hand, and he had asked them to leave the store and walk them out to that exit. According to Reve and her husband John, Adam was a very, very shy boy and not the type to speak up, and explained to the security guard that he wasn't actually there in the store with the other boys and that he was with his mom who was inside the store. So Reve's worried at this point. She's like, oh my God, they just sent him outside into the parking lot. Where is he? So Reve and the security guard head to the exit that he sent them out of, and there's no one out there. None of the boys, Adam's not there. And at this point, she is like starting to panic. She goes back inside and just starts scouring the mall, thinking maybe Adam went back in to look for her. She pulled Adam's picture out of her wallet, and she's just showing it to anyone who might have seen him, any employees from the mall, anyone she can really think to stop. Eventually, she gets a worker to put an announcement over the PA system that said, Adam Walsh, please come to customer service. But this kind of just pisses Reve off because she's like, my 6-year-old son doesn't know where customer service is.
He probably doesn't know what customer service is.
Yeah, like, can a 6-year-old even read? Like, he probably can't even read the sign that says customer service.
Where the fuck is customer service?
So she asked them to tell him to come to the toy department instead, because she's like, he knows where the toy department is. Like, he members those toys.
Yeah.
And
walks in every time and sees it.
Exactly. And they refuse. They say that they can't do that.
Fuck
They
Sears.
told her, right. Now, this is one of the things that the Walshes work on changing later on. But they told her at the time that store protocol is to only page people to customer service. They're not allowed to page people elsewhere.
Okay, but a 6-year-old kid that doesn't know what the fuck customer service is.
I know, and
can't
I'm like,
make an exception.
It's literally his mom, like, telling you to
Sears
page
is a big
him.
store. Like,
yeah. And again, it's connected to the mall, the entire mall. So he could be anywhere in the mall. Like, and that's the one spot that she knows. He knows where this is. Now, when Adam doesn't show up to customer service, a Sears employee recommends that Reve walk through the mall to look for Adam in case he had left the store. Reve explained that Adam wouldn't have done that. He would have known to meet her in the toy department if he got lost. But not knowing what else to do, she decides to take the suggestion, walking all the way from Sears to the video arcade on the other side of the mall. But still, there's no sign of Adam.
I feel like I'm panicking for her. Like, I would be freaking out.
I'm just paranoid about stuff. Already, and I would be panicking, but I would be telling myself, you're just being paranoid. You're just being paranoid. Calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Oh, I would have a full-blown panic attack.
Yeah. So Reve returns to Sears to plead with the employees to do the announcement again, but to tell him to go to the toy department this time. Because she had already scoured the whole mall at this point, they oblige her this time. And as Reve stands there waiting, she's just looking around frantically, hoping to see Adam appear. This is when she notices a familiar face across the way in the garden center. It was Jean Walsh, her mother-in-law, who just happened to be there shopping for plants on her own. So they both had no idea that the other would be at the mall.
What are the fucking odds?
But I'm assuming, I would assume that when you see your mother-in-law there, you're probably relieved. You're like, oh my God, Adam saw her and she, they're together.
She went to hang out, or he went to hang out with her, yeah.
So Reve approaches her in tears and asks if she's seen Adam, but she says no, and immediately is like, what's wrong? What's going on? And Reve explains the situation to her, and Jean immediately joins in the search. While Jean scours the aisles of Sears one more time, Reve uses the Sears phone to call Adam's best friend's mom. This woman's name was Sue. And she's like, basically, can you please come here and help me look for Adam? I don't know what else to do. So Sue and her husband Chuck immediately head up to Sears to look for Adam. Now, right after Sue and Chuck arrive, Reve notices a police officer in the store and immediately approaches this officer, who is a female, for help. But the officer seems to kind of just like dismiss Reve's fear and concern, despite the fact that Adam had been missing for about 90 minutes at this point. So, because she's like,
oh, it's got to be 48 hours. Did she pull that shit on her?
I don't think so, but like she's probably just thinking, oh, like this kid's lost in the mall. Like we just gotta find him. Like it's gonna be fine, you know? You like, especially if you're an officer, you probably deal with that kind of stuff a lot, and you're just like, it's all good. We're gonna find him. Like he's got to be somewhere, and you never want to think that what happened to him happened.
Now I feel bad for putting my mom through this trauma because me and my brother used to play hide and seek, and I would hide in the towel racks at like Kohl's or whatever, and she would have no idea where I was, and I would fall asleep in the towel racks. I would fall asleep in the towel racks
because it was such a good hiding spot that Ethan couldn't find
comfy.
you.
They're all plush and soft, and they're towels.
And
I'm like,
what do you mean in between the like? How are they? Are they hung up like on hangers?
I remember hiding like in the circle racks with the clothing like hung up.
Yeah.
But then my mom told me that I used to fall asleep in the towel rack. So I'm assuming I probably would just crawl into the cubbies.
She's probably like sweating, like pacing the store.
And meanwhile, I'm like, I am the best hider seeker ever.
Yeah.
And my brother's never going to find me. And yeah, I also got stuck on an escalator once in a mall. Because on the outside of it, like I was trying to like hold on to it, and then I just kept going, and then I wouldn't let go and get off.
That's the most Emily thing I've ever heard. To be stuck on the escalator while it's like moving.
Somebody had to like the security guys had to come and get, because I wouldn't let go. Like they couldn't like pull me over. Like somebody had to come with a ladder and get me off of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was an asshole. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Becky.
Now I feel her pain. Like not really, but like I see where
this is where her mind was going.
Yeah, like this would drive me fucking nuts. Like I would be crying hysterically.
Yeah.
So sorry, Mom, again.
So does your mom listen? Has she listened?
I think she said she listened to the first couple of them. So
okay. Yeah.
I'll tell her to listen to this one.
So I get it.
Maybe.
Some people they just cannot handle it.
Yeah.
Like that's how.
Well, it's also my mom, and she's like, you swear a lot. I'm like, Mom. But it's fun.
So you're not pushing it. You're like,
yeah, I'm
good.
like,
you don't,
okay.
Yeah, maybe don't. Maybe don't. Yeah, but wait, maybe she shouldn't. I don't want her to hear me and be like, Kelsey is not the type of person I want you hanging out with. I love you though, Becky. Love me back. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect, but nobody is.
Becky likes you.
So, okay. So back to the story. So right after her friends arrive, she goes up to the police officer. The police officer is kind of dismissive, even though he's been missing for an hour and a half at this point. Finally, eventually, I don't really know what changes, but the police are called, and Reve doesn't even remember who called them or how long it took after she approached that first officer because trauma. And yeah. Now, luckily, the Hollywood Police Department was actually right across the street from the mall, so it didn't take a long time for the officers to show up. However, when they did, they literally rolled into the parking lot in a very, like, lackadaisical manner. Why can I say lackadaisical, but I can't say manner?
I was going to say, you said that was impressive. Lackadaisical, what?
Lackadaisical?
Lackadaisical? That's a cool word.
That's a real word, right?
Sounds right.
I don't know. So they rolled into the parking lot. They were straight chilling. No sirens, no lights, nothing. Like they just pulled up.
Like all right, another missing kid probably sleeping in the towel racks.
Yep. Now the lack of urgency from the responding officers obviously does nothing to relieve Reve's anxiety. They attempt to reassure her that Adam is okay, suggesting that maybe he got lost or he's hiding to play a trick on her, or maybe he even decided to walk home after being unable to find her. But with each suggestion, Reve's fear and anger only grows. She knows Adam would never hide to play a trick on her. He's not a little fucking asshole like Emily. And she knows that she looked almost everywhere possible for him and he wasn't there. She also knows that he would never try to walk home by himself from the mall. She knows that Adam is aware that the walk is way too far for him. It's over a mile, and that he would have no idea where to go, as they had never walked to or from the mall at all. They always drove there. So it just, she knows her son. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, why
to
the
her.
fuck would he walk home when he could ride in the car with her? I hated walking anywhere when I was a kid.
No, I would definitely, if I was lost in the mall, I'd be throwing a fit, and I would have like, I think even a 6-year-old by this time would have like gone up to an adult and said, I lost my mom or something.
Yeah.
After 90 minutes, like minimum, that's crazy.
Was it an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Good math.
Dude, you know I'm bad at math. I'm a visual person.
What is that, an hour and a half? Oh, I love it. Okay. Now, likely in an attempt to get the police to move on from this idea of Adam just being lost, Jean, who is the mother-in-law, Adam's grandma.
That's such a mother-in-law name.
I know, right? So Jean heads over to John and Reve's house. All right, you're saying he walked home? I'm going to go to the house and show you that he's not there.
I'm going to tell you he's not fucking there.
So, of course, she arrives and he's not there. But when she walks in, the phone is ringing. And she answers the phone, and it is her son, John, so Adam's father. John was calling to check in with Reve and Adam, so he was confused when his mother answered the phone and asked her, like, why are you at my house? Where's Reve? And this is when she explains to John that Adam is missing. John and his brother Joe immediately leave work and head over to the mall to help look for Adam. Now, back at the mall, while this is going on, Reve is straight panicking, like full on, like panicked, crazy, not crazy, that's a negative term, but you know what I mean. Full on panic mode, and rightfully so, because she was right. Now, with every nonsensical reason for Adam's disappearance that the police were pitching to her, Reve just began to realize that the more likely possibilities are much more sinister. The first real action taken by police was to issue a bolo, be on the lookout, for Adam. So the bolo that was put out just described a 6-year-old white male with blonde hair. But their efforts pretty much stopped there for now. They're like, everyone just, keep your eyes open for the kid. There were no interviews conducted at the mall, nor was there any search for evidence. It seemed that the police were simply sitting around just waiting for Adam to appear. Reve.
I hate it.
I hate it too. I don't like it. I
don't like it one bit.
Reve, however, was not just going to wait around for him to turn up. She continues searching, trying to imagine where Adam might go if he was scared and lost. Among the hiding spots she considered, dumpsters stood out as potential shelters to her. With a heavy heart, she lifted the lid of one, half expecting, half dreading to find her son inside. Adam, however, was not there. This act, initially driven by the hope that he was merely hiding, took on a darker tone as she realized the grim possibility that if Adam were found in such a place, it wouldn't be of his own accord. It would be because someone else put him there. So Reve frantically searched every dumpster around the mall.
Oh, that's so sad. Because the cops were like, well, he's probably at home. If he's not there, he'll show up.
Don't make the mother do that.
Right. What the fuck? You get paid. That's your job to do that.
Don't make the mother. And even if you think it's not necessary and you see the mother doing it, you go do it for her.
And tell her to go tell
her to walk if she needs to do something. Tell her to go walk the mall again. Don't let the mother search for her baby in dumpsters. That just breaks my heart. Now, about 3 hours after Reve had last seen Adam, which was around 3 p.m., her husband John arrived at the mall. John's brother Joe left pretty soon after he arrived to go get a close family friend of the Walshes, Jimmy Campbell. So Campbell was John Walsh's best friend for years and had actually lived with the family for a while, but moved out not too long before all of this happened. So that day, Campbell was actually windsurfing for some promotional video that his company was making. So Joe, who is John's brother, headed straight to the beach, flagging Campbell down from the shore. And as soon as he, came in, he tells him what's happening, and the two hopped in the car and floored it back to the mall. So John and Reve, along with the police, remained at the scene for hours. And as the sun began to set over the Hollywood Mall that night, the realization set in that at some point they would have to leave without their son.
Oh, that's so sad. Like, they couldn't have fucking put the mall on lockdown or something.
That's
like, hey, we have a missing 6-year-old that nobody can find. I don't give a fuck if we're causing a scene. Shut the mall down so nobody can leave with them.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna. I don't expect them to do that after 20 minutes of the kid being missing.
An hour and a half. And at this point,
I
it's
think
what,
after 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I think you should have people at all the entrances watching people walk in and out.
Well, yeah, it can take 5 seconds. Like and that can rule out the mall.
If you make an
then.
announcement, it's like anyone who's in there that is a parent would be like,
they got their eyes peeled.
I'll help. Like, let me help. Like,
yeah.
So around 6 p.m., Reve and John agreed to head over to the police station. But first, they stop at Reve's car in the parking lot just to make sure that Adam wasn't there waiting for them. He wasn't. But just in case he came back, they left a note that read, quote, "Adam, stay in the car. Mommy and Daddy are looking for you." End quote.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. And they made sure to leave the doors to the car unlocked and put a blanket in the back seat. So if he was there waiting for them when they got back, he hadn't gotten cold.
That's so sad.
So upon arriving at the police station, John and Reve Walsh were met with a scene that seemed all too passive for the urgency of their situation. John, who was a successful marketing executive known for his effectiveness and his leadership, was not someone accustomed to inaction. His frustration was palpable as he demanded that the police spring into action, leveraging his commanding presence to spur them into taking Adam's disappearance with the seriousness it deserved. After hours of what felt like futile waiting, with Adam missing for over 6 hours at this point, the police finally began a comprehensive search.
Oh, wow. Just takes 6 hours.
That
makes me so mad.
It's a 6-year-old boy. This isn't a 14-year-old kid who went to the mall alone and then never came back.
And then wandered off on his own and went home.
Right. Like, I could see that. This is a 6-year-old boy that was there with his mom, who was a shy kid. Like, this is crazy to wait 6 hours to do a full search.
He walked away for 5 minutes to go play some games or look at a game.
It's disgusting, these police. Now, the search operation, like I said, was very extensive. There were patrol officers combing the streets, there was a helicopter scanning from above, canines sniffing through the grounds, and boats even patrolled the waterways. Meanwhile, a human chain of friends, family, and concerned community members meticulously covered the Hollywood golf course, which was nearby, ensuring that no area was overlooked. So they're literally just linking arms, like walking across this golf course, making sure that they cover every single inch of it, looking for him. While this is happening, Reve tirelessly biked through neighborhood after neighborhood, calling out for Adam. But even with all of this searching, Adam remained unfound. As hours turned into days without any sign of the boy, the grim reality set in for the Walshes. He was not lost. He was not hiding. He had been taken. In a desperate bid for any leads, they pooled resources with family and friends to offer a reward, which eventually grew to $100,000, which would be equivalent to over $320,000 today. So the Walshes are wealthy. Like, John Walsh is a very successful man. Mm-hmm. They have money and resources and time to dedicate to this. Mm-hmm. And I just, like, it's heartbreaking for them, but I also think about, like, a family who doesn't have as much wealth. Like if you get paid hourly, like you take weeks off, like trying to look for your missing son, you don't get paid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it like, you can't ask your friends to donate and end up coming with $100,000. Like, and yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just sad. So flyers featuring a beaming Adam in his baseball uniform. He's like holding up a bat and just smiling, a big smile that it showed off. Like he had 2 front teeth missing in this picture. And it's adorable. So this flyer, they printed out these flyers and they're just circulated everywhere. The flyers had the following quote that was written by John. It says, quote, "We are willing to negotiate ransom on any terms. Strict confidentiality. Do not fear revenge. We will not prosecute. We only want our son. If desired, contact any radio, TV station, newspaper, or any other media as a neutral party for negotiations or information. Do not fear revenge. We want Adam home." End quote. But of course, no one comes forward.
You got to be a sick, fucked up individual to take a 6-year-old kid out of the mall.
This is an extremely sick, fucked up individual. What he does to this boy is like,
oh no,
horrible.
I don't know if I'm prepared.
After this, I'm like,
I'm glad you gave me a seltzer because I don't know if I'm prepared to this one today. Oh,
it's bad. It's bad. So, only 2 days after the disappearance, during a televised press conference, a spokesman for Hollywood Police Department stated, quote, "I think it's time we hit the waterways hard. If he's in the water, this is when he'd come up." End quote.
oh,
Amidst the turmoil, the Walsh home became an epicenter of activity and support as friends and family all but move in with them to assist in any way possible.
Aww.
The couple makes appearances on as many TV stations as they can, begging for information and for Adam's safe return. This leads to a flood of tips that overwhelms the Hollywood Police Department. Just one day after the press conference, the investigators receive a tip from a witness who remembers seeing a blue van with tinted windows suspiciously cruising around the Sears parking lot on the 27th. They determine the lead is solid when 2 children who were also at the mall that day tell investigators that they not only saw this blue van, but they saw the driver force Adam into the van. According to their statement, the driver was a white male about 6 feet tall. A third report comes in that day from the parents of a 10-year-old boy who also claimed to see Adam being put into a dark blue van the day he went missing. So these are 3 different people saying that they saw this suspicious dark blue van, and 2 of the 3 sets of witnesses said that they saw the boy being forced into this van.
But also, if you see that happen, why did you not fucking go to the police that day?
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, I don't, they say they saw him being forced into the van, but, maybe it's one of those things where it's like he was holding his hand and the boy was crying and
Like
he pulls
he
him
thinks
in and
he's
you
just
think it's
throwing
like
a
their
tantrum
parents.
or something.
That's why, like when I was a kid, my parent, this is probably like like stranger danger 101 thing that everyone already knows. But like when I was a kid, my parents always taught me, if someone takes you that you don't know or you don't want to go with, you have to yell, "This isn't my mommy," or "This isn't my daddy," or something, because if you just cry, people might just think that
You're a
it's
bratty
your
little
parent.
kid, yeah.
Like it's your parent and whatever, and they won't know to help you and like whatever. So if you've never heard that before, teach your kids that.
Damn, that's actually a pretty good idea.
So the police released this information about the blue van and the description of the driver. And they basically just encourage the public to come forward with any information that they have. Like you think you might know who this is, or maybe you saw a van the next day, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. At this point, everyone in Florida driving a dark blue van was considered a suspect in this case. What police didn't know was that there was another witness at the mall that day, a man named Bill Missler, who saw something very different from the 3 other reports of the blue van. According to Missler, he was sitting in the parking lot of the Hollywood Mall on July 27th in his vehicle while he was waiting for an old lady to move her car so he could park. So he's basically just waiting on a parking spot, sitting there, idle in the parking lot. And while he's waiting, he saw a white Cadillac with a black vinyl top pull into a parking spot. Missler watched as the driver of the Cadillac got out of the car and walked towards the Sears, saying that the man driving caught his eye due to a very unconventional look he had about him. Missler describes the man as having wonky teeth and a lazy eye, and wearing a disgustingly dirty t-shirt. He saw the man walk up to a little boy who had been standing on the sidewalk. Looking back on it, he noted that the two didn't look like they belonged together. Adam's clothes were clean, and he looked very well taken care of and well groomed, while the man was dirty and disheveled. Still, the two chatted for a moment, and according to Missler, there was nothing to indicate that the boy was afraid. The man then took the boy's arm, and they walked to the Cadillac together. The man then opened up the driver's side door, and the boy hopped in and slid to the passenger side. It all happened very quickly, and after he sees them get into the car, the parking spot that Missler was waiting on freed up. So this kind of took his attention away from the situation. He's got to pull in. He's not watching this man and the boy anymore. Because honestly, he didn't really think that much of it at the time because, the boy didn't seem upset. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't crying, nothing. It just kind of seemed like, this man is a weird looking guy. You're just people watching, really.
Yeah.
So he pulls into the spot, and the man and the boy never cross his mind again, because by the time he looks back up, they're gone. The car is gone. Now, the next time he thinks about the situation was when he saw news reports that Adam Walsh had gone missing. Now, unfortunately, unlike the other witnesses that came forward the day after that press conference, Missler did not call the police to report what he had seen.
The fuck, why?
In fact, Missler did not come forward with his story until 1991, 10 years after Adam's disappearance. He gives two reasons for this. Firstly, it was already widely reported that whoever had taken Adam was driving a dark blue van, and that multiple witnesses had seen the boy being forced into the van. So he figured that it must not have been Adam that he saw. He's like, well, I don't know. It kind of, the kid was blonde, but didn't really remember his face. And he's like, well, other people saw a boy being forced into the back of a van against his will.
So he's like, oh, I don't need to say it. Somebody else did.
Right. And now remember, these witnesses are saying they saw Adam being forced into a blue van.
Mm-hmm.
This guy says
it was like a white Cadillac, right?
A white Cadillac with a black top. So these are two different vehicles that they're talking about.
The same day, though, right?
Same day, same time. And so he's thinking, well, the kid I saw wasn't upset. He did look like this guy that he was with was weird looking. They didn't look like they really went together, but who knows? Maybe it's like the crazy uncle or something. And he's like, if other people saw on the day a boy got kidnapped, a boy being forced into the back of a van, that must have been the person. Whoever I saw must have been other people, And honestly, I mean,
to that I say, see something, say something, sir.
I agree. I think, still this is something that we can learn from.
Yeah.
I understand this reasoning. It does make sense to me. But you don't know the case, and if he would have come forward, it would have changed the case entirely.
Well, yeah, could you imagine how he feels now about not coming forward when he did?
Right. And I don't blame him, I understand, but let's all learn something from this. If you think you might have seen something, don't worry about wasting police's time. That's their job. That's their job. And at least if you give them the information, like if it's ignored or something, that's on them then. You did your part. Just give them the information. And if
as soon as you can, too, because, I mean, I'm sure 10 years from now, he doesn't remember his surroundings. There could have been other people. There could have been so many other things that he missed.
Right. Or things, little details that he can't remember anymore. So His second reason that he gave was that Missler had a prior criminal history. But at this point in his life, he had really straightened out and was a very reputable businessman. Now, I don't really know for sure because he doesn't really explain it past then, but I'm just assuming that he kind of worried that his past mistakes could end up being publicized all over the news and stuff like that, or that maybe police would look at him a funny way or something like that, but I'm not really sure. Now, less than 2 weeks after Adam went missing, the Hollywood PD asked a polygraph expert named Joe Matthews to give polygraphs to John and Reve to rule out any involvement on their part. They eagerly accepted, wanting to do anything necessary for the police to rule them out so they can focus all of their energy on finding Adam. Now, the results of the tests ruled that both John and Reve were truthful about having nothing to do with the disappearance of their son. Investigators then moved on to testing others who were close to the Walsh family, including John's best friend and Adam's godfather, Jimmy Campbell. Jimmy was like a little brother to John. They had known each other since Jimmy was 12 years old. Now, during Campbell's polygraph, he revealed some information that piqued the interest of investigators, to say the least. You see, John traveled a lot for work. And remember, Campbell lived with the couple for a very long time. So this left Reve at home with Adam and with Jimmy Campbell a lot of the time.
Wait, so how are they related to Jimmy Campbell?
Jimmy Campbell and John were best friends since Jimmy Campbell was 12 years old.
Okay.
So he had lived with them for a while. And like I said, John's out of town a lot. So Reve and Jimmy Campbell are spending a lot of time together. And at first, Campbell described his relationship with Reve to police as super close, like brother and sister. Now, when they asked about his relationship with Adam, he told them, quote, "I was close with Adam, closer than his father. I was his father, brother, uncle, and playmate. I would play with him, and John would read to him. Adam would tell people, I have two fathers. One stays at home and one works. As much love as you would give to this kid, he would give it back. We were inseparable, totally. If he got scared, he would sleep with me. I liked Adam. I love him." End quote.
I want to say but that, I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way.
So where I read this quote, it was written that exact way. Like, and I'm curious if it was really said that way in that order all together in one statement, or if those were separate quotes that were later combined, because that just seems like a lot of information to give. If someone says, "What was your relationship with Adam like?" And you're just like, "We were close.
Spitting
He would
facts.
sleep in my bed if he was scared," and blah blah blah. Like, it just seems odd.
Yeah, like I was more of a father to him than his actual father. Like that's kind of
Right.
who's my best friend.
Now, I will say up front, because I hate when podcasts or anything true crime like tries to point fingers and make you think it's someone when really it's someone else. They're trying to do it for an entertainment aspect. Like, but this guy, it's widely believed, and I believe he had nothing to do with this, and he really was a victim. He was someone who like loved Adam.
Okay.
And had nothing to do with it. So I just want to say that up front. But we are going to go into, he was very, very, very closely looked at by police. And there are some things that you look at and you're like, that's a little weird.
That's sus.
A little sus, a little weird. And I think that statement to me is like, if it really was said in that way, I'm like, that's a little much, dude.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a lot, but also like I can see where he would say that because he's like, this is my best friend's kid, and like this kid was my best friend.
I also feel like we'll go on to see, I think there may have been a little bit of jealousy that Jimmy Campbell had. Like, he was a little bit jealous of John and like what John had.
Like envious, yeah.
Yeah, and John was always away, and he really felt like he was Adam's father figure, and he's like, you
have this amazing family with these great kids, and like you don't appreciate them enough. You're always gone.
Like, I think he almost like wanted the credit of being the father figure, which I get. Like, if you are the father figure, I understand. But I'm sure this is like a really emotional time for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, while John, was traveling a lot, spending a lot of time out of town, the three, so Adam, Reve, and Jimmy Campbell, grew very close. And out of what I assume was a combination of loneliness and probably just mistaking proximity for romantic connection, Reve and Campbell began having an affair. So you can see where I'm thinking maybe there was a little bit of jealousy on Jimmy Campbell's part.
Yeah.
Now, it's unknown whether or not John knew about the affair at the time, but some reports suggest that John had actually been the one to ask Campbell to move out of the home as he grew weary of the bond that Campbell had formed with his wife, So we don't know if he asked him to move out because he knew they were having an affair or suspected it, or he just felt it was odd. But it seems like this was the reason that Campbell was asked to move out of the house.
Okay.
So as investigators learn this, it's becoming apparent to them that not only did Campbell have a strong bond with Adam, but his relationship with Adam's parents had become extremely strained. Lead investigator Jack Hoffman was pretty much ecstatic when he heard about this affair. He considered this a clear indication of motive, theorizing that when John expelled Campbell from the home, it ended his relationship with Reve, and in an act of retribution, Campbell abducted Adam, someone that he came to see like as his own son, He's like,
I can see where they would think that.
Yeah, it makes sense, but this is why it's like you have to be so careful in these investigations because it does make sense. That adds up to me. Now, Hoffman felt like they were very close to solving the kidnapping at this point, and one can only assume that he was a bit relieved to think that the boy was taken by someone close to the family and not some unknown child predator lurking the streets. If I were Hoffman, I feel like this would have given me some hope that Adam was still safe. He loved the boy. Maybe he just, wanted to be the boy's father. He's got him like hidden somewhere. It makes sense that he would go with him without causing a fuss, everything like that. But of course, we know that wasn't really the case. Anyway, investigators asked Campbell to provide a detailed timeline of where he was the day that Adam went missing. He had actually started his morning by heading over to the Walsh house around 9:30 to have tea with Reve and Adam. Reve had asked Campbell if he could watch Adam for a few hours that afternoon so she could run errands and go to a workout class, but Campbell declined. So this is the morning that Adam went missing. Reve was asking him to watch Adam. So she's going to go to this workout class, go to the mall, get her lamps and whatever. But Campbell said no. So he kind of knew of what her plans were for that day. Oof. But at this point, he claims that he felt like the Walshes kind of just were using him as a free babysitter, and he was just over it. So he was like, no, I'm not doing it. So after having tea with Adam and Reve, he headed straight to work, which was at a beachside hotel called the Golden Strand. This is also where he docked the fleet of boats that he had recently purchased in an attempt to start his own business, which was off to a bit of a rocky start. The hotel was planning to film a promotional video that day, like I had mentioned earlier in the story. And this is why Jimmy was windsurfing when the uncle, Joe, had come to get him later that afternoon. Now, the filming of this promotional video wasn't scheduled to start until 3:30 p.m. So Campbell worked on some miscellaneous tasks earlier in the day at work, and then he headed to the dock to wash the fleet of boats and prepare them for filming. So he tells police that he realized that some of the sails were looking ratty, so he ran down to the beach to ask a different hotel if he could borrow some of their sails for filming, but the owner wasn't in, so then he just headed back and whatever. And all of this kind of makes sense, but it's also a lot of time he's spending alone this day, going back and forth and on the beach and everything like that. So when he finally reached the beach of the Golden Strand after apparently going to try and find new sails or whatever, he says it's around 2 p.m. And at this point, he says he noticed an elderly woman struggling in the water. So he went in and helped her get out of the water. But the woman was never, they couldn't find her. They tried to track her down to verify this, but they never did. Now, this is a long-winded way. This is the Kelsey way of explaining that He has a very shaky alibi up until about 3:45 p.m. when the film crew showed up. So that's the only thing that we can really corroborate. It's the only thing that we can really corroborate. I can't even do it. I can't even do it. Corroborate. I'm just going to go with corroborate from now on. Someone is like 10 episodes from now going to listen to like start with an episode like in the middle of wherever, and I'm just going to keep saying corroborate, and they're going to be so confused. Like, so anyway, he's got a very shaky alibi and until 3:45, and this is right around the time that Adam went missing. So they're like, police are very convinced that they have found the guy. They're like, he saw them earlier that morning. He's pissed that they're using him as a free babysitter. Reve told him where they were going to be, and he has no alibi for the time that Adam disappeared. Even though he has an alibi for right after, they're like, well, doesn't matter. You know, maybe you're trying to make an alibi, you know? Mm-hmm. You're not just going about your normal daily tasks. So Hoffman, the lead investigator, just becomes determined to get Campbell to confess, but no matter how hard they push, Campbell remains steadfast that he is innocent and he has no idea what happened to Adam. Campbell is interviewed by the polygraph expert, and his polygraph shows that he was mostly truthful about all the questions relating to Adam, but it did show high levels of stress. So still skeptical of Campbell, investigators asked him to return a few days later for another polygraph, which he agreed to. The second polygraph was scheduled. It was exactly 2 weeks to the day after the kidnapping happened. And while police are focused on breaking their number one suspect in this second polygraph that was done under hypnosis, which I found interesting, while this is all happening, there are 2 field workers who were getting off work near Vero Beach, which is about 136 miles north of Hollywood, Florida. These 2 men grabbed their fishing poles and they headed over to a spot on their local dock to sit and fish and relax after work. The dock actually juts out into a drainage canal, which runs parallel to the Florida Turnpike. So it's not the most beautiful place to fish, but it's very convenient when you're trying to just go after work.
Yeah. It's like a quick little spot.
Exactly. Now, as they walk towards the water, they start to smell something rotten and notice something floating in the water. Oh, no. They get closer to see what it is, and a grim realization hits them. What they're looking at is the severed head of a child.
What the fuck? That would scar me for life. If you see it,
his head.
Just rotting in the water.
2 weeks. He's been gone for 2 weeks. It's been in the Florida heat.
And it's just his head? Oh my God.
Now, police promptly responded to the scene. Although formal identification procedures were pending, they were confident that they had discovered the head of Adam Walsh, transforming their kidnapping case into a murder investigation. Moreover, the Hollywood Police Department believed that they knew who the killer was, Jimmy Campbell. When they received the news of the remains being found, John and Reve were actually at the ABC studio preparing to make a remote appearance on Good Morning America. Investigators suggested that despite receiving this, absolutely the most horrifying news you could ever fucking receive, the investigators suggested that they proceeded with the interview, as they still had not identified the remains officially. So they're like, we think it's him, but we don't know for sure. So, please do this. We need the tips. So the couple did what they were asked, just trying to remain hopeful that it was not Adam. Mm-hmm. John did tell the interviewers about the remains that were found, but he said he and Reve were sticking with hope and the possibility that Adam was still out there alive somewhere. Fortunately, John and Reve were spared the agony of identifying their son, as their family friend, John Monahan, who was also John's boss, stepped in to perform the identification on their behalf.
Thank God. What a nice guy, because no parent should have to fucking identify their child just by their head.
Isn't that... See, nowadays, they would never have to because of DNA, but back then, they...
That's all their options.
Oh my God, that makes me sick to my stomach to think about. Now, Monahan was indeed a good guy, and he actually felt deeply indebted to John Walsh, who had saved the life of Monahan's own son years prior when his son was trapped in a drainage pipe that was rapidly filling with water. So John went in, saves this guy's son, completely saved his life. And so when this happened, Monahan was like, I owe it to him. He would do it for me type of thing.
Yeah, he saved my kid, so.
Yep. So sadly, there was no doubt in Monahan's mind that the head belonged to Adam Walsh. To this day, the rest of Adam's remains have never been found.
What the fuck?
Isn't that just that? I was like,
you said it was in a ravine, right? So sharks couldn't have eaten
I don't think so. It was off the highway. I think it was fresh water.
Damn, that's crazy.
But maybe alligators.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Ugh.
It did seem that he was decapitated by a person.
Yeah. No, I know, but
right.
you
if
never
the
know if
body
he
was
just
also put in there.
Yeah.
100%. It's
damn.
I just can't imagine knowing that someone you love was just separated like that, and
just
you
mutilated, and you can't find the rest of him. I don't know. How do you? I don't know. That's fucked up. I'm also thinking afterlife. Are they able
I think it depends on your religion. Some people wouldn't even really do a full funeral and stuff because of this different
their
religions.
full body wasn't with them. Yeah.
It's just it makes me sick to my a 6-year-old
too.
boy.
Oh.
6 years old.
That's giving me chills. I don't want to think about it.
So later that same evening, a press conference was held. John told the media, quote, "I really don't know what to say other than I'm sure you know our hearts are broken. I just wish it had a happier ending. I don't know who would do this to a 6-year-old child. I can't conceive of it. It's beyond the realm of reality," end quote.
No person could do this to a 6-year-old child. A fucking monster does this.
Monster, demon.
You are not a human being if you can do this to another person, let alone a 6-year-old child.
I think the way he said it's beyond the realm of reality.
Oh, perfectly said.
Yeah.
Because how the fuck?
And why?
If you have a conscience or a heart or a brain, for that matter, you would never be able to do this.
And we are going to see that the man who we're 99% certain did this didn't have any of those things. No conscience, no heart, and no fucking brain.
Scum of the earth is what this dude is.
Yep. All right. So we are about an hour in now. And I feel like we're at a good breaking point.
Okay.
So let's stop it there
Okay.
for now. And we will continue next week in part 2. And I think we'll be able to do this in 2 parts. But I think that's a good breaking point. Now that we're all really down, really depressed.
Yeah, I want to cry and...
I know, I'm sorry.
Ouch.
I just don't want to start and get into it. Otherwise, this episode's going to be 2 hours.
That's fair.
Okay, well, thank you for listening. I'm sorry to leave you at such a horrible point, but I hope you come back next week. Obviously, nothing is going to make you feel better about this, but there are some really amazing things that John and Reve end up doing to protect other people's children and help the families of other missing children. So there will be a little bit of good coming. It definitely doesn't outweigh this. But there will be a little bit of good coming.
Good, because I fucking need it.
Do you have anything funny? Can we leave off on a lighter note?
No.
Can we?
I don't have no lighter notes. I need to hug my
Me
dog.
neither.
To get some lighter notes.
All right. Well,
Hope you have a great week.
send an episode of the podcast. Maybe not this one. Maybe not this episode. Maybe a lighter one like Matahari or Julia Tofana or something. Send an episode of the podcast to someone you know who loves true crime.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, court is adjourned until next week.
All right, bye.
Bye. Bye.